Muted.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ryan Timms, and welcome to our webinar, Learn How to Make Online Distribution Work for You. Good afternoon, I guess, for some, and good morning for others, depending on exactly where you are at. What I wanted to do is just go through a few housekeeping details to start. What we are going to do is if you please send your questions via the chat in the GoToMeeting. Basically what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through the entire presentation. If you have questions as we are going through the presentation, if you just please submit those through the chat, we will answer those at the end of the presentation. We are also going to record this presentation, and so we will be actually posting this to our YouTube channel when it is in fact complete. Also, if there are specific questions that aren't answered during this session, we can schedule a one-on-one meeting with either myself or one of my colleagues. So I will post both my phone number and email address after that so we can dive into some specifics that may apply directly to your property. So a little background, as was mentioned in the original email that was sent out, by the end of next year, excuse me, by the end of this year, more than 60% of all hotel bookings will in fact be made online. And so you really want to take full advantage of online distribution. Every property is unique and different, and as such, it is a balance. And so really our goal today is just to present you with what some of the options are, and then just based on that, we can always make recommendations on perhaps what will work. But there's no question about it, there are increased revenue, increased bottom line, and increased productivity by taking advantage of these various channels. So what I wanted to do is just start off. This first slide here, you can see we have 3 columns talking about what we define as the channel mix. The first on the left is what's called the GDS. And the GDS is an acronym for the Global Distribution System, and it's actually made up of over 60,000 travel agents globally. And those channels are Sabre, Galileo and Apollo, WorldSpan, and Amadeus. There's also a 5th CRS, which was known as the Pegasus, or the IDS, or Internet Distribution System, and that now is actually called DISCO, which is an acronym for the Distribution Hospitality Intelligence Systems Company. And so the DISCO, or the IDS, publish primarily to the online travel websites. Okay. The second pillar we have here is OTA, and that's an acronym for the online travel agencies. And the OTA reservations have been increasing, obviously, at a pretty stark pace. And also there's been some consolidation within the industry as a whole. The 2 big players in the market are Expedia and Booking.com. The Priceline company owns Booking.com. There's a number of affiliates with that. And then with Expedia, when you actually are active direct with Expedia, you also get access to Hotels.com, Travelocity, Orbitz, Veneer, Trivago, What If, and as well as about 200 other affiliated travel websites. The third channel mix that we're going to discuss here is negotiated rates. The travel industry is full of corporate and government employees and travel agencies that can only book at properties providing direct negotiated rates. The example I typically use are actually some active programs that exist currently would be like Apple, IBM, Microsoft. There's a state and local government program, one that we have active called the Statewide Travel Program of California. Alltour is another travel agency. We have Historic Hotels of America, John Deere. A lot of Fortune 500 companies will basically set up a negotiated rate between that company and that hotel to give a specific rate that can be booked on the IDS and GDS. One of the easiest examples I often give is if you are a hotel beside an airport. You can sign a negotiated rate with an airline, let's say United Airlines, for all pilots and flight attendants. And anytime, that will allow basically United Airlines to book directly with your property. So that can be a discounted rate, it does not necessarily have to be, but whatever rate that is provided, that negotiated rate will only be seen by that specific company. We have another, say there's a big construction or consulting project within a specific area. You can obviously sign a negotiated rate deal directly with that firm, and they can book accordingly. Okay. We also have, also that falls under that umbrella, would be some of your standard, there's sort of 5 standard discount rate programs as well, which would be like AAA, ARP, corporate, government, military. Now that primarily focuses more on the North American market, but again, that is, you can often give just either a slight discount or a per dollar discount to each of those channels, and that can certainly provide additional reach as well. All right. I just want to touch again on this slide. So what are the advantages of connectivity? This afternoon we're going to really just focus on each of these channels that I'm going to talk about at this stage. We provide seamless integration as far as bookings, availability, and rates. So rates and availability are all managed within your property management software. Pricing, allocation tools, flexibility. Essentially, you can control your rates and availability to all of these respective sites. Okay. So basically what that means is that for those of you that have been in the software, and let me preface this earlier, we have such a great cross-section of attendees this afternoon. We have some properties that are active on the GDS, they're active on Booking.com, they're active on Expedia, they're active on TripAdvisor, and you have others that currently have no connectivity at all. And so we're able to talk about what are the strategic advantages to being active on all and what other programs will fit. But irrespective of the program that you participate in, you have the ability to control your availability and your rates for each of these channels. So simply put, what you can do is if you are a hotel that has a king and a queen room, you could in theory just give the queen room to TripAdvisor, the queen room to Expedia, both to the GDS, and have different rates and restrictions for all of those channels. That's all done through our agent allocations or agent screen as well. The other thing is with Expedia and Booking.com, we actually have what we define as a direct connection. And what the direct connection means is that we've written the interface, or the API as it's called in technical terms, directly to those two channels. What that means is that you have faster and more efficient rate availability messages. The same applies to both the GDS as well. So what you do is, for those that have connections to both Expedia and Booking.com and have actually gone through the sign-up process, one of the last phases when you choose Booking Center is what's called the two-way interface. All right? So what it does is that not only do we push rates and availability updates, but also anytime a reservation takes place, that reservation will seamlessly import directly into your software. So there's no need to manage an external system. As I said, it's that two-way integration. Okay. The other thing I just wanted to mention on this screen as well is that we have some properties that currently are managing or do have an active account through Expedia Partner Central or Booking.com. And again, it's within 10-15 minutes, we can actually make that a direct connection. So instead of you having to manage a second or a third or fourth, depending on how many extranets that you have, we can actually connect that because of the direct connection that we have. That can be connected directly to Booking Center, and so that anytime someone makes a reservation, whether that's through your website, whether it's a GDS or IDS reservation, through Priceline or Expedia, you will be notified via email, just like you do now, and that reservation, as I mentioned, will just seamlessly import directly into your software. So how do we optimize channel management and inventory allocations through your property management system? All right, so I talked briefly that through agent allocations, the management easy, and you have complete control over each individual channel or agent. So for example, we have some properties that obviously a lot of these channels, especially with Booking.com and Expedia, can charge or do charge in fact a commission. So we have some properties that decide they want to increase their rates for that channel, and they may also want to include a 2-night minimum on specific holiday weekends or even summer weekends, their peak. You have the ability through our rate management, or excuse me, our rate loading, or creating a completely new rate plan. So you have the ability to control your rates and your restrictions or minimum stay requirements via channel. Also, I just wanted to let you know, as far as we will be in the next few weeks releasing a new GDS or IDS extranet. So that will give you additional flexibility to be able to update your amenities, activities, room type amenities, images, essentially building out your online profile, which we're gonna touch on in a little bit. Also, for those properties that are active on Booking.com, in the next coming weeks, we're also going to be launching what's called the Rate Manager. The Rate Manager is a calendar of your top 5 competitors' average rates on a given day. So you'll actually be able to go in and view what your rates are for competing properties, and obviously take that information, perhaps adjust your rates accordingly. We're also launching a new yield management tool. We're going to have additional webinar documentation and information on that, but you have the ability to use yield management as far as your rates are concerned too, based on occupancy, based on a number of factors as well. Right, the GDS and the OTA direct connections, the way it's set up right now is Expedia Partner Central is the Expedia extranet. Booking.com also has their extranet. You have the ability to easily go in, create promotions through both those programs. And those promotions, once they're set up, they still seamlessly integrate with the Booking Center software. You can manage images, descriptions, amenities via each channel, and then obviously update your rooms and room types accordingly. So some properties may not necessarily want to give all of their inventory to a specific channel, and again, that can be controlled both at the extranet level and obviously within Booking Center. Other properties want to completely keep it open and allocate all that inventory to each respective channel. Okay. So what does this mean? What are the next steps regarding what we could potentially do, or what your property could potentially do? I'm a big proponent of the 2 big OTA channels, both Booking.com and Expedia, for the simple fact that they provide incredible reach. I had one property that actually increased their rates. They weren't really sure what their rate strategy was, so they increased their rates on one of the OTA channels by 25%, and they still got reservations, even though they were 25% over their rack. And to me, that just shows you the incredible reach that some of these OTA channels in fact have. And so as I mentioned earlier, if you don't have an existing connection, we provide full documentation on A, how to sign up, and B, if you do, a simple 10 to 15 minute phone call, we can actually convert and set you up so that instead of having to log into a separate extranet, again, rates and availability will upload directly from the Booking Center software. We also can reach what are called channel connects. Channel connects, very similar to some OTA programs, but typically they're smaller. So like Priceline.com, which is actually the parent of Booking.com. There's Agoda, which is a big travel site in Asia. TravelZoo, Bookit.com. And then for some of our smaller, more boutique properties, if you've heard of Tablet Hotels or Mr. and Mrs. Smith, those are 2 big travel portals that we can directly connect through the Channel Connect program. There's about 50 additional websites that are part of the Channel Connect program that I can send a follow-up note to all interested parties to see if there's some interest on that as well. I want to also talk about TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor is actually the #1 travel website in the world. And we actually have a direct connection with TripAdvisor to 2 of their programs. One is what's called the Trip Connect, where guests guests can actually make reservations directly on your profile page on TripAdvisor. This is actually done through the Booking Center booking engine. So literally your rates and availability are updated, just like, as I mentioned before, through the TripAdvisor agent. And then when someone makes a reservation, it's literally on the booking engine itself. We also have another program which is called Review Express, which encourages users to write reviews for the property. And so you actually you can choose to do both, or you can just choose one or the other, depending on what program is best for you. You also want to look at how you can enhance your profile for all of these online channels. If you look at what Booking.com and Expedia both do a great job, that they actually show you the progress of your online profile when you actually create an account. So are you using images that are the right size? Is your marketing message complete? And they'll actually, almost on a percent basis, show you how your profile is coming along. Just like you've done with Booking.com and Expedia, you also want to do the same for your GDS or your IDS profile. You know, that would include any marketing information, pictures or photographs, airports, amenities, activities. These can all at this stage be completed within the setup area of Booking Center or MyPMS. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we will be giving direct access to your own GDS, IDS profile in the coming weeks. And we'll have a follow-up session and supporting literature on that as well. The other takeaway I want to talk about is the 5 discount rate programs. And so many of you have seen through some other hotelier websites, and some of you actually are participating in this right now, but we have 5 discount rate programs, which are AAA, ARP, corporate government, and military. And what that is when you activate that, that will allow that rate to be booked for your property, or that specific rate plan. So we have some properties that decide they want to participate in all 5. Some just want to do 1, 2. There's really no rules around if you want to do all 5 or just a combination thereof. And there's also no set rules on what the exact discount that is provided. Typically, you would see anywhere between 5 to 10% over or under your rack rate, which is the discount, but it can also be a per dollar amount as well. And so what certain properties do is, you know, if you're sold out or your occupancy levels are very high during the week, or vice versa on weekend, depending on what your client base is, you can always apply that discount to, let's say, your midweek rates where your occupancy is quite low. And so again, just by being able to create unique rate plans, you can always implement this program, you know, just to try a few to see the results from that. I also wanted to let you know there's obviously there's a number of new features and enhancements that are in the pipeline currently for Booking Center that we're very excited about. And we are looking to update actually within the next week a new rate update. So what it will allow you to do is manage multiple and single rates. So instead of in some cases we have certain properties that want to update, for example, I just want to increase my rates 10% today, but for all of my rate plans, or I want to increase them $5 for all my rate plans. So before you actually had to go to each individual rate plan, our new rate paradigm will allow you to update on a percent, a dollar, or a flat rate increase over multiple rate plans. So that's going to be a big one that will just make rate management much, much more efficient on that side. Okay. All right, if you have any questions, there is a chat feature I just wanted to let you know within the GoToMeeting. You can always post a chat directly there. And then we can answer those questions accordingly. Okay. Just to conclude, some interesting stats I just wanted to provide that the average traveler now actually looks 35 times before they actually make a reservation. They look 8 times within the 24 hours before they book. It's also interesting to really understand, too, who your market is. For example, like business travelers' #1 concern is amenities. You know, they really want to know what the Wi-Fi rules are for your property. Where American travelers love coffee makers in their rooms, where Europeans think that's a bit of a moot point. And the other thing, too, is that a lot of properties may end up on the negotiated rate side. They may have relationships with specific, as we mentioned, travel agencies or companies. There is not a channel that I'm aware of that is managed either through the GDS or the IDS or one of our direct connects or channel connects that we can't get to. So again, it's just the ability for you to manage availability and rates through the agent allocations directly from your Booking Center software. All right. So that actually concludes our session for today, unless we have some additional questions. Again, I can be reached directly at ryan@bookingcenter.com, and my phone number is included below there. Okay. I just wanted to thank everyone for their attendance this morning, this afternoon, and look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you in advance.